Welcome to episode 35 of Shame Talks. If you listened to last week, I appreciate it. We kind of had a fiasco. I had a new camera that I was really excited about, and I didn't take the audio aspect into account, so last week's audio is pretty terrible. I'm back on my old camera right now because I didn't have time to mess with it this week. Hopefully next week I'll be over to the new camera and have good audio, but I just wanted to jump back to the old camera to make sure this week went smoothly because I am joined by Jason L. Mayer, as always, for Hey Bud, Let's
Hey,
Talk.
buddy. What's up, buddy?
Hey man, so we are going to do an episode this week about buddies and
Hey,
duos.
my brother is in there.
Hey! But before we get into that, let's talk real quick about the Sun King beer that we were both super excited about this week. It is Polynesian Passion. It was brand new last year during COVID. They changed the label on us. It's a purpley label this year. It was a white label last year. Maybe if I feel special, I'll throw up last year's label on the other side of the screen. But yeah, so Polynesian Passion is a Belgian triple. I love Belgian yeast, so Belgian triples I really enjoy. This one is a tiki inspired. So it's last year it was rum barrel aged. This year the label just says barrel aged. I'm assuming it's still rum barrel. I have not taken a drink yet of this year's version. But I assume it's still rum barrel aged. The flavors are orange, pineapple, and coconut. If I remember right from last year, I didn't get very much coconut flavor from it, so I don't know what this year's going to be like.
I thought you said vanilla was in this too.
I thought vanilla was in it, but it says pineapple, orange, and coconut on the label, so I may have misspoke about the coconut or about the vanilla. You said that those two flavors are pretty prominent, but you didn't get any coconut at all?
I'm not tasting a whole lot of coconut. No. It's a little harsh when you first go to drink it. I like the smell. The scent is really well done. The mixture of what I smell is mainly just orange and pineapple going on there.
You're not wrong. That is really rough up front this year. I don't remember it tasting like this from last year.
It gets better with every sip, though. So I mean, like I'm more prepared for it.
Yeah.
so it's going better. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd ever get it again. But like, I don't know if I'd ever order this. I really liked last week's, which was that
Velvet Fog.
Velvet Fog, yeah. Last week, and you know me, I don't like whiskey aged beer.
Barrel aged.
Well, yeah, whatever the heck that you said. I don't usually like those, but last week's was really, really good. So
yeah, Velvet Fog is phenomenal. They only release it once a year, and it seems to be getting harder and harder to find every year. One of my buddies that worked at Sun King years ago, like I had to go into like their vault room for him to give me like one can of it. Like it was so rare back in the day. But yeah, Velvet Fog is deliciously phenomenal. Very cherry bourbony flavored. Yeah, this is. I remember liking this last year because, like I said, last year was the first year that they made this, and it was during COVID. So I remember going to Sun King and getting like a couple of. I think I got like 4 of them to go or whatever. And I remember liking it a lot last year, but this is a lot different than I remember it being. Like, not bad in any way, but not the greatest flavors.
Yeah, it's a little, like I said, it's a little harsh, especially that first drink, not knowing exactly what you're getting into.
Sure.
It doesn't hit, I will have to say the Velvet Fog from last week, man, like, I don't know if you guys listen to it, I was drunk. Like, I was only like a quarter of the way through. I had eaten very early that day. I ate dinner very early that day, and then I was pretty toasted for the rest of the night. So,
well, be careful with this. From what I found online, it's 11.7% ABV.
I just ate it a little, like an hour and a half ago. So probably okay.
All right, good to hear that. So the next thing we're gonna do, we'll shift into our "What did you watch this week" segment. You watched something this week that I talked about briefly last week, so I want to see how you feel about. I tried my best not to spoil. I tried my best not to spoil anything. So, how did you feel about Kong versus Godzilla?
I liked it for the most part. On my 5 scale, it's probably a 3.
Okay.
It was entertaining enough for a summer blockbuster movie, especially like kind of kicking off summer. It kind of works. I don't think it's great. I like my nephew, who is 7, has watched it like 4 times on HBO
Oh,
Max.
really?
Oh yeah, because he loved it, and
But
he just
you didn't do HBO Max.
I didn't because I couldn't, man. Like it's Kong Godzilla. You're supposed to see that on a big screen, not some. Like I don't care if you have a 70-inch at your house. Like no, like this is meant to be in a theater. Theater experience was great. I don't know if anybody in Indy or near the Indy area has ever been to the Legacy Cinema. It's over in Greenfield. The prices are from about 10 years ago. The seats are from probably 10 years ago. But not everybody can afford to bump up their seat to leather recliners. But
Sure.
Had to see my movie and my get a medium popcorn, medium drink for $15 total.
Oh,
and this
nice.
was Friday night.
So wow.
It wasn't a matinee pricing. So I really appreciate it. It was nice. The theater's laid out kind of nice, and yeah, it was worth the drive. And
how busy was the theater?
I'd say we were probably. It looked like the seating capacity was probably around like 250, and I would say probably like a quarter full.
Oh, okay.
And people were trying to keep their distance for the most part. The funniest part was I went with our coworker Jasmine and her husband, and everybody's spaced out. They tell everybody when you're buying your seats, you need to keep 3 seats between you and the next party. You need to have at least a row between you and the party in front of you or behind you. So like they're trying to keep the social distancing going on. Yeah. So like 5 minutes into the actual movie, we had people who were 2 rows behind, they had a row behind us that was empty, and then the next row, people were there. We had a row in front of us that was empty, and people up front of that. Literally 5 minutes into the movie, a group of 4 just walks in and gets right in front of us and goes right between. And it's just like, dude, come on! Like it's their fault they were late, and they weren't trying to social distance at this point because, but whatever. At least they were in front of me, so it was a little bit better as far as exposure goes. And I wore my mask to make sure that nothing, I'm trying to make sure that the wife and I stay happy. So
sure.
Yeah, I ended up keeping my mask on for most of the movie. So
right on.
Except when I was eating. So, but yeah, it was a good experience. It's fun to watch movies with people.
Sure.
Even if it's crowds that you don't know. So I'm glad that it might be the first movie I've spent money on in a very long time at a theater, because we're just spoiled like that. So
of course. How would you gauge the audience reaction of the movie?
It seemed favorable.
Good.
Like it didn't seem like anybody loved it, but it didn't seem like anybody hated it either. I saw that it did 14 million or something like that on opening weekend.
Sounds I think that's what I read.
Yeah, I think that's like kind of the norm right now, with only some theaters open and
sure,
still limited capacity. So, but yeah, it was nice. It was an entertaining experience, and I'm looking forward to watching Mortal Kombat at the end of this month. Oh, wow.
I'm very excited about Mortal Kombat. I can't guarantee
I'll see it at home.
I can't guarantee I'll see it in a theater, but I will definitely watch it at the moment that I can watch it.
We should get our Glendale management group together and we should go see that.
So. I mean, I am not opposed to going and watching it with the group, but if Friday comes around, that Friday, April 22nd, and I don't have plans, I'm going to watch it as soon as I wake up that morning.
You suck.
I'm excited about it, man. I want to see the movie. I can't wait to see it.
Let's just go on opening day. Let's just go.
Like I said, if I don't have plans by then, that's what I'm going to do, but if we make plans, I will go watch it on opening day if you can make it work with your schedule.
We'll figure that out.
We'll figure that out. Open. Well, right. As long as our theater isn't open, we'll see what's going on.
To watch it before the public anyway, so.
I mean, we could cross our fingers and hope our theater is open, and then I guarantee you I'll watch it with you prior to that Friday. We'll make that
and
happen.
You'll wake up and watch it anyway on that Friday.
Yeah. Or I'll just watch it 2 more times at home on Friday if it's good. All right. So besides Godzilla, Kong, and Mortal Kombat coming up, did you watch anything else exciting this week?
I finished up Kingdom.
Oh, you were
Uh,
talking about that last week.
we talked about it last week, and the ending, it hits you hard. It's the last two episodes is really, really good. Um, it's something that apparently people are trying to get a fourth season created by somebody at some
Oh,
point.
cool.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's an entertaining enough show that I'd watch it if they came out with another season.
Nice.
The other thing that I've been watching periodically, like in some, like I watch like an episode here, and then I take 2-3 weeks off of it, and then I'll come back and watch a couple of episodes. Is For All Mankind. Have you watched
Oh,
any?
I haven't watched any of that. I'm interested because obviously I love space and space travel stuff, but I haven't watched it yet. Is it any good?
Yeah. It's different. It's got the guy who plays Flag from Suicide Squad. Uh,
Yes.
uh,
The guy from The Killing. Joel. Oh, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Joel.
Joel
Come on.
Kinnaman.
Kinnaman. Yes, Joel Kinnaman. Yep.
Is that him?
Yes, it's Joel Kinnaman. He was RoboCop.
Okay. It also has Chantal Von Santen, which is the girl who is she was in the very first episode of Timeless, and it's the blonde who main
Okay.
guy tried to save, and then
Yep.
she was also in the Flash for a little bit. She was the detective
Yep.
who dating.
Patty Spivot.
Yeah. So the show's interesting. It all takes
Okay.
place on the fact that essentially during the space race, the Soviets got to the moon first,
Yeah.
and then we're playing catch up, and then it ends up being like,
They
oh,
colonized the moon or something.
they want to put I'm only in the middle of season 1,
Okay.
and like both the Americans were the first to put a base on the moon, and now the Russians have put a base on the moon.
Ah,
Yeah, like it's just all the stuff that's going on, like at home and in the space program and stuff like that. And
nice.
it's interesting and cool enough to see where they go with the thoughts of like if this actually happened. So
How many episodes in do you think you are?
oh, I can tell you exactly. Give me just one moment. I'm pulling
Right
up
on.
the episode guide. I am at
I honestly didn't know that Joel Kinnaman was in that show. That kind of makes me want to watch it more.
so there's 10 episodes per season.
Okay.
We're on the second season currently, and in the 8th episode will come out this Friday.
Okay.
Last season, out of the 10 episodes in season 1, I am on episode number 8.
Okay. So you're almost done with the first season.
Almost done with the first season.
Nice.
So it's keeping my interest. It's there's good people, there's bad people, there's lots of politics going into this.
Right on.
It's not Ted Lasso. It's not going to make you feel good through the whole thing. But it's also not Kingdom, where it's kind of like everybody kind of sucks. So as far as a person, like there's only like 1 or 2 redeeming characters in Kingdom where I'd be like, I'd have a drink with that guy and be like, we could be buddies.
Nice.
Everybody else is kind of like a dickhead and a douchebag. Definitely it's worth checking out for a couple episodes
Cool.
if you have time.
Well, and you brought up Ted Lasso, so anybody listening right now who hasn't watched Ted Lasso, I highly recommend that on Apple Plus, Apple TV, that you start up Ted Lasso and just watch it, because it's the greatest thing that you will ever spend your time on. And season 2 is only like less than 3 months away. We're supposed to get that in July, so
Not only that, but you can usually get a free week's worth of Apple TV.
yep.
And you can bang it out in 6 episodes, isn't it, Shane?
No, it's 10 episodes, but they're all like 30 minutes long, or 20
Okay.
to 30 minutes long, so it goes pretty quick.
So you can definitely bang that out quickly.
Yeah.
And if you have to pay for a month, it's only $5. So.
Yeah. So definitely, if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, I highly recommend it. If you have never listened to this show before, you have no idea how much I talk about Ted Lasso and how much I love it. So definitely watch Ted Lasso if you can. This week
I know who's seen it has loved that show. Like,
Yes.
there's not a single person who's told me that they disliked it.
I agree. every single friend that I've had that has ever started the show and watched it. Like, I've got a couple. My buddy Garrett and his wife Kara. They just started it not too long ago. They're not flying through it like I expect most people to. But every time I talk to them, they've watched like 2 more episodes, and they've really enjoyed those 2 episodes. So.
Awesome.
Like, I know they're watching. They nightcap it with Ted Lasso, so they'll watch like Sons of Anarchy or like some other show that they're watching, and then after that's done, they'll watch 1 or 2 episodes at the end of the night. So I know eventually they'll get through it. But yeah, like Ted Lasso is amazing, and I might just start it over again tomorrow because we're talking about it right now. But this week I played a lot of catch up because I was out of town last week, so I played a lot of catch up on TV, getting caught back up. I mean, obviously, I was caught up on like Winter Soldier and stuff like that, but got caught up on like my trash TV that I watch on Paramount Plus, the challenge shows and the Real World Reunion and stuff like that. I don't know why you're shaking your head, man. Like it's good trash TV. But I
Trash
did.
TV is the key word there.
I did. Well, and I mean, like, I'm really enjoying so they got the entire cast from the very first season of The Real World together, put them back in the loft that they were in New York City, and they've been having them discuss a lot of the things that happened 29 years ago in the first season of The Real World. And it's kind of crazy, the parallels with what's going on in society nowadays, and like they play like clips of like the racism talks that they had 29 years ago, and how it's pretty much the same talks that are going on nowadays in society. It's pretty cool. But aside from my trash TV and like The Flash and other shows that I'm keeping up with, the only movie that I watched in the last week was The Sandlot. And it was because baseball season started last week, like we mentioned on the very bad audio quality episode we had last week. Baseball season was starting, so I had some people over last Saturday night. We had opening day of my patio theater, and we ended up showing The Sandlot for the kids, for my stepdaughter, and then for my buddy Garrett's kids. And I can tell you this, The Sandlot holds up. And the funny thing about The Sandlot, today is April 7th. The Sandlot was released on April 7th of 1993.
What?
Yeah, so it all comes full circle for The Sandlot being talked about right now. But yeah, The Sandlot holds up, man. I laughed a lot. That movie is a great. So here's my question for you. This is kind of a discussion debate that we got into. Is The Sandlot a baseball movie or a coming of age movie?
Both.
I mean, I definitely agree with you on that, but which category is it more? Is it a baseball movie that has coming of age qualities, or is it a coming of age movie?
Dude, like that's a baseball movie.
That's a coming of age movie that has some baseball background to it.
No.
Yes.
They literally they don't do anything besides play baseball.
Watch it again, man. The baseball aspect is very low. The whole Wendy Peppercorn pool sequence is like 20 minutes of the movie.
I don't care.
The actual amount of time that they play baseball is very, very minute in the movie. I'm not lying. Yes, it is.
It's not.
It is.
I watched it last year, just outside of my movie or outside of my driveway theater, just like you just did. I'm telling you. Okay, so maybe a third of it is baseball.
Maybe.
I'll give you a third.
Maybe a third. Okay.
But they literally would not have gotten together if it wasn't baseball.
Correct.
They wouldn't be going through the crazy crap that they go through at the end if it wasn't for baseball.
Sure.
It wouldn't have ended in a baseball stadium if it weren't for baseball. It's dude.
But hold on. But literally, once Smalls hits his home run over the fence, there's no more baseball for the rest of the movie. And like that's halfway through. Because then they spend like 20 minutes trying to figure out how to get the ball. No, I'm not wrong. There's the 4th of July sequence. There's the very first sequence when Smalls very first shows up. That's a baseball sequence. Then there's the baseball sequence when the other team shows up and talks shit, and then they play against them. And then there's the 4th of July scene. And after that, there's only one more baseball sequence when Smalls hits the home run with the Babe Ruth ball, and the last 45 minutes of that movie are them trying to figure out how to get that ball back.
Wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You are wrong.
What in the last 45 minutes? Where is there a baseball game played?
You completely forget about Dodger Stadium?
Oh my god! Right, fine. The
Oh,
last 2 minutes of
lawyered.
the last 2 minutes of the movie, 100%. And I know I told you a couple of days ago that like I got made fun of because I started getting emotional and tearing up. That was the scene that I got teary-eyed at. Was the very last sequence between adult Benny the Jet playing for the Dodgers and adult Smalls as the reporter, and them giving each other the thumbs up. Like I emotionally not lost it, but I emotionally was feeling it at that moment. But I mean, it's a coming of age movie that just happens to have a baseball backdrop. In the same way
Okay,
that I
same thing
will
with
admit
Mighty Ducks,
Field of
right?
what's that?
Mighty Ducks is a coming of age story with just some hockey thrown in.
I feel like if I go minute for minute how much hockey is in that movie compared to how much baseball is in the Sandlot, I feel like there's going to be a vast difference. Here's my thing. In the same way that I will say Field of Dreams is a coming of age movie and not a baseball movie. There's a lot of baseball elements in Field of Dreams, but that story is a lot more about Ray Kinsella's emotional journey than it is about actually baseball. It's more
Yeah,
a story about him and his dad. Whereas
agree.
The Sandlot
Agree.
is a great story about a bunch of friends, and then the stepfather relationship Smalls has with Dennis Leary. Which I'll say this, I think that's the only PG movie I've ever seen Dennis Leary in.
Probably.
I mean, I can't think of anything else. And I remember that growing up where I was just like, oh man, this is the guy from Demolition Man that curses a lot. You looking up Dennis Leary?
I am.
I'm not lying. It's a PG movie, and I can't think of any other PG movies that Dennis Leary has done.
Why would they make sequels to that movie? I mean, like,
Yeah. What is there? There's at least 2 sequels, right?
PG movie maybe, but he did do the voice for Diego for all the Ice Age movies.
Oh, okay.
You've got those. He was also, then he did a bunch of PG-13 movies because he's done like Draft Day, the 2 Amazing Spider-Man movies.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Let me see. He did a movie called. Oh no, that's a TV show.
Well, funny thing that you bring up Spider-Man. I saw a funny meme this week that compared the very first Sam Raimi Spider-Man cast and then the cast of Zack Snyder's Justice League, where you had Willem Dafoe, you had J.K. Simmons, and then you had
Joe
Manganiello or Manganiello or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I thought it was hilarious that the 3 of those were in both of those were in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and then the Justice League as different characters in each of them.
he was in a movie called Wide Awake in 1998. That was PG.
Wide Awake, is that the Shyamalan movie with Julia Stiles?
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah, that's the Julia Stiles M. Night Shyamalan movie. I've seen that.
Julia Stiles.
She's the older sister of the main character.
Why am I not surprised that you saw it because Julia Stiles is in that movie?
I mean, I watched it for M. Night Shyamalan totally-ish.
Yeah, keep making up words.
Yeah. But no, yeah. Wide Awake was written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. The kid, I can't remember who plays the kid, but Julia Stiles plays the kid's older sister. Rosie O'Donnell is in the movie
Joseph
also.
Cross.
That's the kid?
That's the guy who plays the kid, yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't have been able to come up with that, but yeah, it's honestly probably one of my favorite Shyamalan movies for not having it has no Shyamalan twist in it, but it's just a really good movie.
5.9 on the IMDb.
I'd give it at least a 7.
It is not worst graded movie.
Yeah, it's better than that. All right, so that's what we've both watched this week, or whatever. You ready to start talking about the top 9 results from the poll we put up? All right, let's do this. So put up a poll the other day. I put up the top 20 movie duos that I could come up with off the top of my head, and some of our friends added some really good options. Only one of them made it into the top 9, so it's actually in 9th place. I'm actually upset that I didn't think of it off the top of my head. The the number 9 vote getting duo in film was put up by our buddy Dave Richmond, and Dave Richmond suggested Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett.
Like, loud.
Lowry from Bad Boys and Bad Boys for Life. There was no second Bad Boys movie that they did, so those are the guys from Bad Boys and Bad Boys for Life. Which, let's bring up another funny thing. Bad Boys, the original, the Michael Bay film, was released on April 7th of 1995.
What?
April 7th is just a hell of a day for movie releases that we're talking about tonight. So yeah, Mike Lowry, Marcus Burnett, I am annoyed and upset with myself that I didn't think up these. As I've explained before, when I put up polls, I put up the question, and then I literally try to think up as many answers as I can off the top of my head for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes or whatever. This time I came up with 20 off the top of my head. This one wasn't one of them, and I'm mad that it wasn't, because these guys definitely deserve to be in like the upper echelon of movie duos, because they're amazing in the first film and the third film. I've been very vocal that I hate Bad Boys 2. I think it's garbage. I think the whole plot is stupid. I think it does not do the characters justice from the characters that are built up in the first movie. So I pretend that Bad Boys 2 doesn't exist. But as far as the first movie and the third movie go, really enjoy the characters, really enjoy their stories, really enjoy their camaraderie, their buddy-brother friendship. Definitely one of the best buddy duos in cinema.
Totally agree. Lots of fun. I am right there with you that Bad Boys 2 shouldn't exist. I will say though, it's one of those movies, and it must be just because like I'm older and I just like don't mind. I watched it, I want to say right before Bad Boys for Life came out last year.
Okay.
And I was like, it's still bad. It's just not as bad as I thought it was. It's really not worth owning, and I don't own it. I think I only watched it because it was on Netflix and available. Because I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm paying for this. This isn't even worth $2 in my opinion. So,
like, I mean, my problem is like you give me the first movie, and in the first movie they are written as like brothers for life. Like they've been through thick and thin, through childhood, through adulthood, through like becoming cops. Like I feel like these are two guys that would do anything for each other. And then you give me the second movie, and 10 minutes in, they're fighting, arguing, bickering, and don't want to be partners anymore. Like, I just feel like that was pathetic and worthless storytelling for the two characters that you gave me in the first movie.
And this was like a thing in Hollywood around this time, though, because like they were constantly doing this with all like duos. The other one that popped into my head that was like this was the Legend of Zorro. So like you had the Legend of Zorro, and Catherine Zeta-Jones and Antonio Banderas fall in love and have kids or whatever. And then the second one, it's just the Legend of Zorro. They hate each other's guts, like from the beginning of the movie, and you're like, this isn't fun. I don't want to watch two people just like almost hate each other. It doesn't make the movie fun. It makes me feel uncomfortable because of the fact that like just don't even have them together anymore. You could have just had Antonio Banderas being Zorro by himself.
Yep.
Like I would have had way more fun with him, like finding a new, like doing a James Bond thing where he finds another woman and like whatever it may be. Like
Well, and like buddy cop movies where like in the first movie you force two people together. Like, I understand that. Like, I understand the animosity of being forced to be together. But with the first Bad Boys movie, you built up two characters that were like brothers from childhood. Like, this isn't two random.
You get in fights with siblings and stuff, and I get that. But like most of the time, especially if you have to be around each other, I don't know. And I don't think it works for movies at all when you build up people to be one way and then you just like flip it, and you don't even really give a reason either.
Yeah,
like it's not like Mike was somehow doing things, like it's not like he became a drug addict and was like ruining the relationship. It was like he's still being Mike Lowry the entire time, and Marcus is just Marcus is like, "Oh, I'm fed up with this," and it's like, dude, you literally, like you said, you've been with this guy for like 30 years at this
Yep.
point. Why are you even acting like this is something?
Well, and then it's so pathetic. Like, personally, in my opinion, like Bad Boys for Life is the true sequel to Bad Boys. Because when you
Absolutely.
get to Bad Boys for Life, like, yes, they're older, but but like in that movie itself, it feels like they're brothers again, no matter what.
Yep.
It's like the second movie never happened, and all the bullshit that they go through in the second movie, like none of it matters. Like the third movie, there's literally that point where they're on the balcony, like looking over Miami and whatnot, and they're like, one more final ride or whatever, and it's like that's like the brotherhood camaraderie that I got used to in the first movie, and
Yep.
it carries over wonderfully in the third film. It's just pathetic. Like Bad Boys 2 is a pathetic film.
Totally agree.
All right. So, the number 8 vote getting on our poll that we put up was Doc Brown and Marty McFly from the Back to the Future trilogy. And very happy with that. We got 3 movies of them being buddy buddy. Um, no real conflict anywhere. You've got multiple iterations of them and different versions of them based on the different time periods that they go through. Um, as bad as the third movie is, we still get like 1955 Doc and 1985 Marty working together to get 1985 Marty back to 1885 to be with 1985 Doc, and like the dynamic in the beginning, like, and I 100% admit that the third film is the worst of all of them, but the dynamic that they set up at the beginning of that movie works really well for me. Um, but then, I mean, in the first movie, you've got 1985 Marty and 1985 Doc, and then 1985 Marty goes back and spends the rest of the movie with 1955 Doc. And then, the second movie, you've got like multiple different versions of each one of them over the time periods. Like, really good overall 3 movies, like dealing with these 2 characters and the different versions of them in all 3 of the movies.
Totally agree.
Um, and yeah, they worked well together. I love Christopher Lloyd and I love Michael J. Fox, so all the different versions of them work very well together. Really enjoy it. Number 7 on our poll. What's that face for?
See, when I think of duos, I think of like Marty and Doc, and I
Sure,
think of Marcus and Mike, and
sure,
I don't like. I understand that these two are a duo, and I understand the other two that we're going to bring up later from
sure.
this are a duo as well. I almost feel like that, like because of how the ensemble cast is,
Okay.
that this isn't a true duo for me. Like even
And
though they start the movie, especially these two, they
sure.
start the movie as a duo. It for me, like while the poll was up, I was like, I can't vote for this because like, and I get it, but I don't know,
I
like just the way my brain is
Sure.
wired, I don't think of this as a duo. They're a part of a major ensemble cast. So
I agree with where your brain goes. However, throughout all 9 movies, they are for the most part together through the 9 movies and the animated series. And it's
yeah,
R2D2 and C3PO is what we're talking about. Like, so that we don't lose our audience, we'll mention R2D2 and C3PO are the duo we're talking about at the moment. But they're definitely spread out through 9 movies of being a duo, because I mean, R2D2 kind of goes rogue when he shuts himself down when Luke goes into hiding, and C3PO is still around. But then even in like Attack of the Clones, they go their separate ways. In A New Hope, when they land on Tatooine, they go their separate ways.
I
Um,
and I get it. That's fine. But I like I said, for me personally, I don't like. They're part of an ensemble cast throughout the whole thing. I don't just think of these two as being by themselves. It's not a movie based on just C-3PO and R2D2.
that is
Like
true.
it is the way that I look at it.
I can see
So
that. But and yes, I agree with that. But at the same time, like they do hang out together a lot.
No. I'm
and they
fine.
do have
This is
banter.
just my nitpickiness. Like this is just
I don't disagree with it. I do completely understand where you're coming from, and I mean, like, some of the, I mean, hell, I could have put up every couple from Love Actually in this poll because they're duos. There's 9 duos in Love Actually, and they're a bigger, ensemble cast. But I feel like C3PO and R2D2 do spend a lot of quality time together throughout various iterations of Star Wars.
should have put up Alicia Cuthbert and oh my god, from Girl Next Door.
Oh,
Like
the girl next door. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Emil Hirsch.
Emil
Like
Hirsch. Yes, thank you.
we could have put those up.
We
Like,
could have. I mean, at the same time, I could have put up like every couple from 10 Things I Hate About You.
yeah, that's where I feel like, and kind of like when we were talking about like rom-coms
Sure.
and how like Princess Bride didn't fit rom-com for me, and it's just because of the simple fact that I don't think that is a romantic comedy. I think it's a fantasy movie that is a romantic comedy. Kind of like how you and I were debating the Sandlot thing earlier. So
Sure.
like, but yeah, yeah. C3PO, R2D2, they're the coolest dudes in the entire universe, essentially. I love the ride or die meme about R2D2.
About R2D2,
like,
yeah.
He's like, I kept Anakin's secret,
Yep.
I kept Yoda's secret,
Yep.
I kept one secret.
Yep.
And then when Luke didn't want to be found, I just turned myself off. Like, like he's the ultimate ride or die. He's never going to tell on you. He's never going to snitch.
Yep.
So, whereas obviously C3PO has no problem throwing anybody under the bus.
Yep.
So.
And I loved the meme that you're talking about was ride together, die together was R2D2. Yeah, it was pretty funny. But yeah, so I feel like they're a good duo. They're probably not the greatest duo, but they did go through a lot together throughout the 9 movies in the animated series. So I'm not upset that people voted as heavily as they did. Obviously, go ahead.
I was going to say the next one kind of like throws a wrench in my entire theory of what I just said.
It does. But do you believe that Jay and Silent Bob are a good duo in the ISK universe?
They are.
They're amazing.
And the reason why it works for this is because of the simple fact that like they eventually got their own movie.
Yep.
Like, so it's not like we ever watched an R2D2 C3PO movie. So.
That's true.
I don't know.
If you really look at it, like Dogma was a Jay and Silent Bob movie. Then you had Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is a Jay and Silent Bob movie. And then you had Jay and Silent Bob Reboot is a Jay and Silent Bob movie. So like these side characters literally ended up having like 3 movies that were literally about them. Yeah. I mean, obviously they were amazing in Clerks. Like nobody expected them to be what they were. Their vignettes in Clerks are great. Yeah, like. The dancing outside and their one scene where they talk to Dante is great. And then, they're a big part of Mallrats and they're a lot of fun for their subplots in Mallrats. Yeah. They have one scene in Chasing Amy, but it is literally the second best scene in the entire movie of Chasing Amy. So that's awesome. Yeah, it's the second best scene. What's that?
Second or third.
So obviously, I assume we agree that the best scene in Chasing Amy is the Ben Affleck, Joey Lauren Adams, Jason Lee scene at the end of the movie.
Ooh,
like that's the best scene in the whole movie.
I don't know.
Although,
man.
Are you trying to say the diner or the diner sequence when they first meet Joey Lauren Adams?
Dude, I see. Oh man, I really like that sequence too. Yeah. My favorite scene in the whole movie is the fight in the rain.
Oh, well, yeah. 100%. As far as like dialogue goes between the two of them, that is an amazing sequence of dialogue, romance, breakup, argument. Like that's really good.
One. Number 2 for me might be What's a Nubian?
Bitch, you almost made me laugh.
And then the third one is the Jay and Silent Bob sequence because like that it's really weird because to me like both of these directors don't always get it right as far as movies go,
Okay.
but they have the ability to write amazing dialogue, and it's
So,
Quentin Tarantino and Kevin Smith.
okay.
Like,
All right.
QT, like there are so many times where I watch a QT movie and I'm just like, this sequence is amazing, but the rest of this movie is crap. Like Inglorious
Okay.
Bastard has like 4 good scenes in it, and then the rest of the movie I could do without.
I
Uh,
agree. I agree.
and it's almost all the heavy dialogue sequences that they have that where like it's a static camera for the most
Yep.
part, and I'm completely just drawn into this conversation,
Sure.
and the same thing with Kevin Smith. Like I think Kevin Smith's gotten a lot better, especially at directing action and directing other sequences besides just sitting down and having a dialogue.
Yep.
He's definitely gotten better over time, whereas I feel like Quentin Tarantino is kind of stagnant. But I definitely really, really like Kevin Smith could write movies for the rest of his life and never direct another one, and I probably would watch most of them. So.
Sure. Well, and
But
it's
yeah,
crazy. Like you just listed your top 3 moments in Chasing Amy, and like I added 2 others that weren't in your top 3, so that's 5 solid scenes in Chasing Amy.
yeah.
Um, and then I mean, like we said, Dogma almost entirely about Jay and Silent Bob. Then you have Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which is literally all about Jay and Silent Bob.
That's a,
Um, and it's not a great movie, but it's fun. I have a lot of fun with it, and I love like the Biggs and Vanderbeek cameos, and I love all the other cameos in the movie. I have a lot of fun with that, and then I love how most of the cameos come back and like reinvigorate themselves in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Um,
my only problem is like Jay looks so weird since fixing his teeth or doing whatever he
yeah.
did to his teeth. Like it takes me out of the movie the entire time I watch that movie
Oh,
with
that
you.
sucks.
I was it's so not normal for me that I keep seeing it, and then I'm like, oh, this is, and it just keeps doing it over and over
So do you
again.
feel that way about Renee Zellweger and everything you see her in now?
Dude,
Her
her clothes,
facial
her clothes
reconstruction,
eyes and her big old fat lips
I
now is so strange.
it's so terrible. And like I'm glad Courtney Cox figured out a way to revert herself because
No, I think
she's
Courtney Cox looks bad, and I think Jennifer Aniston looks bad sometimes too.
I can see that, but
Yeah,
like Courtney Cox is at least like reverted herself because she looked terrible, and she now at least looks quasi normal in my opinion.
and I understand that there's a lot of pressure in Hollywood to like fix yourself,
Sure.
but I don't know what like uh Meryl Streep's doing compared to like Courtney Cox and Jennifer Aniston. But like Meryl Streep was gorgeous when she was younger, and I think that she's an attractive female for being an older female now.
Sure.
Like
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. My big question: what the fuck is Paul Rudd doing? I want Paul Rudd genes. Like that dude in 1996 was in Clueless
the Fountain of Youth, he's found it.
and literally looks the exact same way as he does right now 35 years later. Like, I don't get it. Like, I want whatever Paul Rudd has found. Like, they show him from Friends, and they show him from the Avengers, which are like 25 years apart, and he looks like the exact same guy.
He does.
So whatever Paul Rudd has found, that's what I want to get into.
He's probably not drinking or smoking anything, and he's probably working out like crazy, and
And good for him. That is good for him.
must be nice to have the money to do that.
Sure. Well, and obviously, Sobriety did phenomenal things for Robert Downey Jr. Because
Yeah.
in the same vein, like he looks like he did in '98 when he did U.S. Marshals. Like,
It's really weird that his abuse problems must have sped up his aging, and then he's found a way to just like cut it off.
yep.
And it was like I
Because
will
his
agree.
'80s movies, he looks like a young '80s big actor, and then the '90s kind of took their toll on him when he was like super drugged out, and then he went to jail, and then like ever since U.S. Marshals in '98, like I don't feel like he's really aged very much. In '99, he did that In Dreams movie with Halle Berry or whatever.
No, it was
You're,
Gothic.
or oh yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. You're right. He did Gothica. Who was in Dreams? Huh. In '99, there was a movie called In Dreams. I don't know why I thought it was Robert Downey Jr. in that, but you're right. He was the other guy in Gothica with Halle Berry. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh no, he was in Dreams as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like
With
in '99, like in Dreams, that Gothica period, like in there, like ever since then, he kind of hasn't really aged at all. Like, yeah, like you said, those drugs did a lot to age him in a couple of years, and then after his arrest and sobriety, he definitely has slowed all of that down. That dude turned what? He turned 56 this week? Last
yeah, I
week
think
on Easter Day, he turned 56 or something. Like, he looks great. All right. So Jay and Silent Bob are an amazing duo. They did a lot of great movies together. Chasing Amy is their best, even though they only have one scene. But then Mallrats, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and Jay and Silent Bob Reboot are all great testaments to their comedic duo-ship. The next number 5 on the vote getting poll is a great duo, a duo that I'm happy with. I enjoy, based on the Stephen King novel. It was the movie Shawshank Redemption. The book was Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, but we've got Andy Dufresne and Red Redding. I can't remember Red's first name. I know they tell it to us, but he goes by Red, whatever Redding. Morgan Freeman and Susan Sarandon's husband, Timothy
Robbins.
Tim Robbins. Thank you. Yeah, Tim Robbins. Jeez, Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. Your thoughts on this duo?
It's a solid duo.
Yep.
I got nothing else. Like, it's one of the best movies of all time for a reason. It's ranked number 1 or number 2 on the IMDb for like forever.
Is it really? That's cool.
Yeah. Now they're top 100 ranked. I want to say it's been number 1, or it might not be anymore, but it definitely was it's up there. But yeah, it's a fantastic movie. Great chemistry between the two of them. Works really well. So,
Like Morgan Freeman, early on in the film, taking, because I mean we have to be honest. Like it is a great developmental story because when Tim Robbins first arrives at Shawshank, he is a shell of the person that he becomes throughout the course of the movie, and Red has a lot to do with that. And very early on, when Red takes him under his wing and starts like teaching him about the politics of the yard and things like that, um, really good duo system gets set up like very early on, like even before they're officially a duo. Like there are scenes where you can tell that Tim Robbins' character is getting special treatment simply for the fact that there are scenes with him and Morgan Freeman earlier. Like
yeah.
you can tell that the other inmates are like, oh, Red's taking this guy under his wing. Like we have to show him more respect than some other random new guy that shows up.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, it's a really good dynamic between the two of them, and like I'm wishy washy on monologues. I mean, like I don't mind
So
I don't mind a good monologue, but I don't enjoy movies that rely on monologues to tell their story. Um, but this one I feel does it just right because we get Andy Dufresne's monologues when we need them, but there are other scenes that the scenes like a picture's worth 1,000 words. Specifically, the rooftop sequence, like when they're black tarring the roof or whatever. There is a little bit of like Andy Dufresne's monologue for that sequence, but I feel like what actually happens in that scene is far more important than the dialogue that voiceover Andy says. Like
gotcha.
watching watching the characters react. I mean, not really react, but do the things that the voiceover is describing about, sharing a beer with the guards while they're doing, stuff on a hot summer day and stuff like that. I really feel like is so much better than just a dialogue sequence. Like it just Shawshank does a great job of taking a couple of lines of dialogue, but then showing you so much more, and specifically that scene because Andy is discussing what Red has taught him and how to make that hot summer day go better for them, and then you get to literally watch it happen.
So the next one up on your list that
Yep.
got to number 4 is one that I would have loved to have seen an entire movie of just these two characters together if they would have pulled that off at some point.
Correct. And like you were talking about with R2D2 and C3PO, while I love this duo, there's half the movie that they're not even together. Their storylines veer separately.
Yeah, definitely. And well, actually more just one of them, right? Like you don't even see what.
Well, you're right. Yeah, we see the Vince Vega going out with Uma Thurman sequence and whatnot. And
So
so
we're talking
like
about Jules and Vincent from Pulp Fiction.
from Pulp Fiction, which obviously they have got multiple, like they've got the cheeseburger sequence, then they've got the diner sequence with Tim Roth and I can't remember the chick's name, but you've got the diner sequence between the two of them. Then you've got the Harvey Keitel sequence with them. Like they have some really good sequences together, but it's not even really like none of their plot lines are really like the main. I mean, is there a main plot line to Pulp Fiction? I guess no, not really.
It's all intertwined. It's just like Love Actually, essentially.
Yeah.
Except
So
this one's non-linear compared to that one being linear.
Exactly, and I do love Jules and I love Vincent, and like I mean specifically like when they go to the kids' hotel or not hotel apartment, like that entire sequence is amazing, like absolutely perfect dialogue, wonderful sequence. The car ride while they're going to the Wolf is absolutely amazing.
QT best movie.
Agreed. No, 100% agree. God, I love Reservoir Dogs though. I love Reservoir Dogs.
I got into Reservoir Dogs as much as everybody else. It's something that maybe I should probably give another chance to, but Pulp Fiction is definitely my favorite of the Quentin Tarantino movies, man. Like, beginning to end, it can keep me entertained. Everything else, I lose. I find I've seen Pulp Fiction so many times that I waver on I'll start thinking about other things during the slower parts.
Sure.
But for the most part, this is the one that will keep my attention the most from beginning to end. So.
Well, and I just had a moment where I was like, oh, why don't I like Pulp Fiction more than Reservoir Dogs? Like, it has nonlinear storytelling in it. And then I realized most of Reservoir Dogs is nonlinear storytelling also. So, but I mean, like, Pulp Fiction's plot is very good with its, it jumps around in time and it shows you things before you see the whole thing, like specifically the Tim Roth stuff. Amanda something.
It would be really interesting to see that. Like, I've never watched that movie linearly. And I think that, and I know other people have cut it together, and I know that, I don't know if there's an option on like a DVD or something, but it'd be really interesting to watch that movie in a linear format compared to the non-linear.
Yeah, that would definitely. I have not done that, and I'd be interested in doing that. I'd really like to see how it plays out linear. So yeah, so they're a great duo in all the scenes that they have together. You're getting excited about the next one. The next one's good. The next one started out as a Saturday Night Live sketch, and it made it all the way to 2 movies, spoofed in numerous other movies.
Dude, like, how do you top Wayne and Garth? Like,
Wayne and Garth
are people that on the list, and I don't get me wrong, like they're deservingly so.
Wayne's World, Wayne's World, Wayne's World. Oh yeah, Wayne's World. Woo! Dude, it's great. The cable access aspect of it was brilliant on Mike Myers' part to write it around that, and then
my biggest complaint about this movie is that the second one is almost exactly the same as the first one.
I agree.
Like, it was literally like, we have to make a sequel. You don't have to write a new script. Let's just change a few things.
Yeah.
It's the same problem they had with Ghostbusters too. Like, it was literally like, we just need money.
Hey,
Come.
funny that you bring up Ghostbusters 2. Roundabout way. Saw an interview with Bill Murray this week where he discussed the fact that him and the entire cast were bamboozled into doing Ghostbusters 2. Apparently, they were given a different script before the movie started filming.
Oh
And,
no.
yeah, and so the whole cast was like, "Oh, okay, this is really cool. This is a good script. Like, let's do this." They all showed up to filming, and it was a completely different script than they had been given before and that they had signed on to do. So yeah, Ghostbusters 2 was a big bamboozle. Like Bill Murray, he was on one of the talk shows. I don't remember if it was Seth or if it was Jimmy Fallon. He was on like Seth or Jimmy Fallon this week, and he was talking about being on the new Ghostbusters Afterlife and how excited he was and how he really enjoyed coming back for that movie. But they got onto the fact that like Ghostbusters 2, the entire cast was lied to about the movie, bamboozled by the script. The studios decided to do a bunch of stuff that they never got his permission to do or anything. Like, yeah, very very interesting to hear him talk about Ghostbusters 2. Because like I don't mind the movie. Like Vigo the Carpathian is like an okay villain. Like
No.
he's fine.
No.
Yes, he is.
No.
He's
It's literally the
fine.
first movie.
I yeah. I mean, I don't think it's better than the first movie, but I don't mind it.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
I
because
also
you were
like
young when it came out.
what was
That's
that?
what it was, because you were young when
I
it
was like
came.
9 when that movie came out. So yeah.
Just like the reason why my nephew loved Kong versus Godzilla, this is the reason why you love God. You don't mind Ghostbusters too. Like,
And again, it is subpar to the first one. I'll 100% admit to that. But
and
I
we're way
don't
up. We
mind
were
it.
supposed to be talking about Wayne and Garth.
Oh yeah, we're talking about Wayne and Garth here. So yeah, so it went from a Saturday Night Live sketch that was very good, very popular, very funny. They did it 2 or 3 years of doing sketches around Wayne and Garth, doing the cable TV access show in their basement, and then they made a movie out of it with Tia Carrera, and it was not bad. It was very enjoyable.
Oh,
Oh, and Rob Lowe, yep, and it was very enjoyable.
the soundtrack was really awesome for
Yep,
this movie too. So
yeah.
Tia Carrera does a couple of songs, Ballroom Blitz and Why You Want to Break My Heart, which are actually both on my personal like Apple playlist of movie songs, because I enjoyed the movie so much. It came out when I was a preteen, right? This was
Yeah,
94.
93 or 94, yeah.
Okay,
Like,
so
I think the first one was 93 and the second one was 95, maybe?
something like that. So 11, 12, 13, somewhere in that
Yeah.
range. And love the movie. It's fantastic. It's still silly. I can watch it now and enjoy it. Ed O'Neill's monologue
Ed O'Neill is great.
is good in it. Tia Carrere at the height of her absolute beauty doing this movie. And it's just so much fun and silly. So
it is a great duo. Wayne and Garth.
and that's just sad.
What's that?
Sorry, I was quoting the movie when he was like people just bow to corporate sponsors. And that's just sad.
On the poll, number 2 is a great duo. An absolutely amazing duo. A duo that has given us 4 movies.
The only reason why this duo should be lower, in my opinion, is because they constantly keep adding more people to this every single sequel.
You're not wrong. The duo we're talking about now is Riggs and Murtaugh, who in the second film they added Joe Pesci. In the third film they added Rene Russo. In the fourth film they added Chris Rock. So I agree. They keep adding one more person to this duo every movie.
And they're literally talking about still making part 5. Like, these guys are going to be, they'd be 80 years old and still playing detective. Like, come on. Like, we don't need this. It's over. Reboot it. Redo it. I mean, I know they did the TV show, but, like, if you really want to get crazy, like, do, like, a younger version of Murtaugh and Riggs.
I mean, essentially, that's what the TV show was. And I didn't hate the TV show. I didn't stick with it very long. but I watched probably like the first 3 or 4 episodes, and like I'm a big Wayans fan, like all the Wayans plural together. Like I love anybody with the last name Wayans. So seeing Damon Wayans play Murtaugh, I was fine with. I liked it. I enjoy Damon Wayans embracing his, getting older in life, and he embraced it for Murtaugh. Um, Clayton, whatever the guy's name was, that was Murtaugh or was Riggs in the first season, he was fine. Or the first 2 seasons, like he was fine. Like I didn't dislike him. I understand that he pissed off a lot of people, but he was fine in the 4 or 5 episodes that I watched. Unfortunately, none of that was good enough to make me want to keep watching. Like I said, I
Yeah.
gave up about 5 episodes in.
It's definitely something that like I'd be okay with them rebooting this and doing like and finding somebody. Heck, if you want to flip it, make Michael B. Jordan be Riggs and the younger guy, and then give
Okay.
Murtaugh the older white dude who's like his superior, or his or partner or whatever. Like I'd be okay with them like reinventing it and flipping roles or whatever the case might be.
I mean,
Um,
and like in your reboot fashion, like I would be fine with Michael B. Jordan playing, a Murtaugh child down the line. Like he could be the child. It's the first or second film that you find out that Murtaugh's daughter is pregnant.
Ooh, that's the third one.
Oh,
Or
is it
no,
the
she's
third?
not a kid until the fourth one. Her oldest kid marries Chris Rock and has the baby by him in the fourth one.
Okay, okay, okay. So I mean, like, go 20 years later, cast Michael B. Jordan, and then have some other random white dude. Like, it doesn't have to be Riggs anymore. Like,
Good
if
point. Good point.
yeah,
You
if
could
you keep it
literally do a continuation and just have Murtaugh be the guy,
exactly
and
like
then
it's
maybe
Murtaugh's child, like grandchild or whatever, down the line, some other new crazy ass white dude is involved.
the new Shaft, the latest Shaft movie, like
Oh
just yeah,
yeah, yep.
bring in Murtaugh, have and then and maybe you don't need a crazy ass white dude. Like maybe it's literally just maybe they're just partners. And
Okay.
maybe Murtaugh, or maybe like Michael B. Jordan's Murtaugh is the crazy one
Oh
because he's
sure,
seen
yeah.
his dad survive all of this, or his grandfather survive all this crap, and his dad. So he's just like he's kind of cavalier attitude about it. At
Sure.
least, and like you said, maybe not Riggs, but maybe Martin Riggs is the guy they go to for advice because Murtaugh's dead or something. Like
Yeah, something like that.
Danny Father's dead. Like and it's so funny that you and I can spitball like this is not it wasn't even scripted what we just talked about. We
Yeah,
spit this, and this sounds way better of a fifth movie than putting Murtaugh
yeah,
and Riggs in it again by the like being the
yeah.
main characters. Like it just doesn't work.
I agree. I hope whoever writes the fifth Lethal Weapon movie takes a look at how Bad Boys for Life structured things and
Yeah.
goes with something like that, because I really appreciate the fact that Bad Boys for Life, while Lowry and Burnett are main characters in that story, it's kind of around them. Like there are story elements that are going on around them that they don't have anything to do with.
Well, and
Modernizing it with the new strike force or whatever.
and you look at something like that, right? And you brought in all those
Yep.
younger actors like Vanessa Hudgens and whoever else was on that team.
The dude from
And
Riverdale.
but yeah, you literally could do something along those lines. And with Bad Boys for Life, when they make Bad Boys 4, which they've already talked about making, I don't know
Yep.
if they've gotten very far in it or not, but it's like it should be a Fast and Furious situation
Sure.
where like Marcus and Mike are the leaders of the group essentially, and then they're putting together a ragtag team of cops who are going to go in and bust things up
Yeah.
that are crazy, and bad stuff happens, and maybe they get infiltrated in the fifth movie, and via 24 style, because that happened to every freaking.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and that was a
I
very
don't know how the counterterrorism unit constantly gets
gets
infiltrated
infiltrated by terrorists. That was
every year.
unfortunately very disappointing about that show.
And why did I watch it for like 6 or 7 seasons and quit before they even quit themselves? Like, I
I
don't know.
mean, and I'll say this: you gave up when it got good after it was bad. Like you gave up because it got bad, but like after you gave up, like the last two seasons weren't bad. They were pretty. Pretty Prince Jr. came around, and like, hey man, like Kiefer Sutherland had a lot of mental terror, like mental torment from his time in a Chinese prison. Like
I
I love
watched that season.
I love Jack Bauer, man. And if they and like they came out with that other show, I don't remember the black dude's name. That was like it was like 24 a new day or whatever it was, another day or whatever it
It
was.
took place
But
in like Africa or something.
no, it was in America. There was some stuff that took place in Africa, but like it was a new black like CIA agent or whatever. But Kiefer Sutherland and Chloe were kind of side characters in it, and I felt like it was done really well. Like
Okay.
it kind of gave Jack Bauer a better conclusion than we got in like season 8 or whatever they ended up going to with the original 24. But like Jack Bauer came back, and they had the new black kid that was in charge, and he was like, "Oh my God, I need Jack Bauer's help," and Jack Bauer's like, "I don't want to help you, but I'm Jack Bauer, so I have to help you." Like I
I went
felt
to jail in a Chinese prison for this country. I'm willing to do anything. So,
exactly. So yeah,
our
like
last,
it was good.
our number one.
Our
Number,
number one in all of the votes on best duos in film is Han and Chewie.
of course it is.
Now here's my thing. I have a couple of different feelings about this. I'm not upset about it. I love Han and Chewie. I think they did. I think they're a great duo. But I'm curious if the fact that we have Han and Chewie in the original trilogy in their prime, and then we got Han and Chewie in Episode 7 as older Han and Chewie, and then we got Han and Chewie in the Solo movie where they're young Han and Chewie. Like the fact that they got the most votes, is it because we've seen so many different iterations of Han Solo and Chewbacca together?
They're the original ride or dies, man. Come on, like this was literally like the inspiration for even Bad Boys, probably when they decided to write that movie. Like it's Han and Chewie, man. Like they're amazing. It's and you know what? I mean, if you asked somebody who was 10 years younger than us or 10 years older than us, they would totally have a different number one than we would even think of. They
Well,
come
but
up with
would they have?
Errol Flynn and his buddy and Robin Hood, like Little
Yeah,
John and Robin Hood or something. Um, I don't know. Like to me, Han and Chewie is pretty much the epitome of what you want in a duo, right? Like they're awesome. So
and I can't argue that they have a great dynamic together. I think our demographic growing up with Han and Chewie in their prime, in their like, 30s, maybe 40s at the latest during those original trilogy movies, like they did everything together and Chewie never questioned anything. And then, 30 years later, we get episode 7 where we're like, oh, these two guys are still hanging out together, but it's just not the same.
it
And then,
wasn't
like,
because the whole movie's not the same.
I
Like
agree. I,
the
I,
tone,
I agree.
the tone wasn't right. But JJ, I mean, it unfortunately, it's one of those things that seems like an impossible task, right? Like because with the we all watched the prequels, we all watched the sequels, and then we were like Star Wars is dead forever. I mean, not
Yeah,
really. We were like, they'll never capture the magic that they had in the 70s. Then along came the Mandalorian. But I think one of the things that helped the Mandalorian get to a level that we never could with the prequels and sequels was because of the fact that it was it was in the same universe, but it wasn't the same storyline.
sure.
Like like, yeah, it's dipping its toes in it every now and then, but for the most part, it's staying out of and staying clear of the original trilogy for the
Sure.
most part. So, and I think that gives us a lot more leeway. So we're willing to forgive more because of that.
I will definitely agree with that. So we got Han and Chewie as our number one duo, based on the votes, which again I can't disagree with, but I'm also curious if it's because of all of the different iterations that we have of Han and Chewie. But at the same time, we have a lot of different iterations of R2 and C3PO, and they were far lower on the votes.
Thank God.
Yeah,
So,
well, I
all right.
agree with that.
Well, your honorable
Honorable
mentions.
mentions. Duos that did not get very many votes. Is there anything that surprised you or anything that you want to bring up and discuss?
Um, I know. You know what's really interesting to me is looking at your list of 5 that you have here.
Mm-hmm.
That the one that kind of sticks out to me, considering how many people I know who say they love this movie,
I think I know where you're going.
which I think is just blah.
Agree. I think I know where you're going.
But Brennan Huff
Yep.
and Dale Doback from Step Brothers,
Step
like,
Brothers is just such a blah movie.
dude, maybe we need to be drunk and watching it together, Shane, because like apparently
Maybe.
so many people I know love that movie and are like, are we best friends? And just
I've literally watched that movie at Fort Bend Pub when my buddy Jay was a bartender there. When we used
was
to
he the
go
only
on
one
Sun.
laughing?
What's that?
Was he the only one laughing?
No, it wasn't that. But like on Sunday nights when we used to go to Fort Bend Pub when my buddy Jay was bartending, he would always put on a comedy on one of the TVs and then turn the sound on for that movie. It was a different movie every week. Like he always just tried to find a comedy so that we could like laugh along while we were drinking and whatnot. And I remember the night that Step Brothers was on, and like it was a Sunday night at a low key dive bar where there was maybe 10 of us on a Sunday night, and I remember being there the night that he had Step Brothers on, and like not everybody, because like I know my wife doesn't like Step Brothers, and she was there that night. So our small group might not have been laughing as much as like the other pockets of people that were there that night, but like a lot of people love Step Brothers.
Oh
And
yeah, they do.
and a lot of people laughed a lot that night. And like I unfortunately did not like the movie when I saw it in theaters. It was one that maybe I didn't watch it with the right people. I know I didn't watch it with you. I think I watched it by myself to be honest, but like I didn't watch it in the right group of people, and so every subsequent viewing, it's just a blah Will Ferrell movie to me. Like when it comes to Will Ferrell, like I'm a Night of the Roxbury guy. Like give me '90s, pop synth music, or like as bad as Superstar is. Like I like Superstar and A Night of the Roxbury and like those Will Ferrell movies.
Late Night, The Roxbury, and then as far as like another starring role that he has, I really enjoy is Anchorman. Like the very first Anchorman was hilarious.
Yep.
Like I was cracking up through the whole one. The second one's really crap and
Yeah,
so
the
bad.
second one's garbage. But as far as like Step Brothers goes, like I said, I remember not liking it, and then I remember watching it at Fort Bend Pub with maybe 10 people, and a lot of people were laughing a lot more than I expected. Where like I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, I like Mary Steenburgen because she's in Back to the Future 3 or whatever. But other people are like dying laughing at things, and I'm like, I don't find this that funny. Like, and I know that like the two of them did like Elf together later and stuff, but I'm just. Oh, actually, Elf was before Step Brothers.
I don't
Elf,
remember John C. Riley and Elf.
who?
John C. Riley is
No, I'm
not.
talking about Mary Steenburgen.
Got it. Sorry.
She was the mother
No,
in Elf.
Elf was before Step Brothers.
Yeah, Elf was like '03. Step Brothers was like '08 or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. And then but like then they went and I mean, I know that these people also did the ballad Talladega Nights, the
which
ballad of
is fine, but I don't love it
I
either.
don't find it that funny either, but maybe again, maybe it's one of those things where I need to be drinking and I need to watch it with a certain crowd and maybe
Sure.
I'll enjoy it a lot more that time. So
The
next
next
up,
the next up is a movie that has two duos in it that were suggested by people in the community, and it's a movie that I absolutely love that I believe you and I watched together. But we've got.
watch this in Massachusetts, dude.
Did you really? Okay. Then we did not watch it together.
I watched
Um,
it with my wife on a Saturday morning.
we
The Great
have
310.
the first up is Seth and Evan from Superbad, which was suggested by my buddy Nick Hall. And then in the same movie, my buddy Nick Joy suggested Officer Slater and Officer Michaels from Superbad, which both of those duos, and then their scene together is like a quadtastic, amazing scene.
McLovin, were you just having sex with?
uh, so, but from those two duos, is there one that you like better? And do you enjoy the four of them together in their sequence?
I enjoy all four. The whole movie's so fun.
Yes.
This beer definitely is hitting me. Seth and Evan remind me of Fat Jason and Skinny Shane back in the day. And it's totally one of those moments where like I don't know, man. Like
Fat Jason and Skinny Shane. That needs to be the next podcast movie that we do together.
Dude, I just love it. There's so many aspects of that movie where, like, when you were in high school, like, because everybody remembers what it's like to be in high school.
For
and
sure.
How it was definitely awkward at some points and trying to figure out your way through life and stuff. And it's one of the first movies.
The funny part about that is like, I don't feel like that qualifies you and I high school relationship. I feel like that qualifies like a year or two after high school.
Yeah, because we didn't hang out nearly enough in high school. But
exactly. Like, I feel like it was like November of '99 that you and I started hanging out a lot, like with Joe and Brandy and like Lee, and like when that whole group of friends started hanging out together a lot more. Like that is what I feel like when we used to have parties at Mark's house. I definitely know that I was beyond ridiculous compared to what I was.
You know what's funny though is now that I say it out loud, I'm like it's Fat Jason and Skinny Shane, but then it's also like we need to swap because like your attitude while you were Skinny Shane was so much more of like not Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill first. Whereas I was definitely more the Michael Cera kind of guy. So
yeah, like you were definitely the one where I was like, Jason, let's do this stupid shit, and you're like, no, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna do some stupid shit, and you were just like, that's my friend. The guy doing stupid shit over there is my friend.
Look, Superbad is pretty much a perfect comedy, man. Like I can watch that movie in any time and enjoy it. And then like the whole sequence when they're drunk at the basement at the end of the movie when they're like saying goodnight to each other, it was hilarious to me. But yeah, like when the girl's like grinding on his leg and puts period blood all over his leg.
Yeah.
It's like this is the kind of stuff I could totally see Shane getting us into.
Yep. So, well, and like it's one of my on a personal level, not film related, but on a personal level, one of my funniest stories about you and I was when you decided to move to Boston and you were trying to be with Letha and all that stuff on the East Coast. One of my favorite stories was when I came to visit you in Boston. We were hanging out. You were like, "Yeah, I told Letha one time. Thank you for making me move to the East Coast, because if you didn't, I probably would have ended up being roommates with Shane, and God knows what would have happened at that point. Because your brother offered us to be roommates in his house that we could have sublet from him.
When he was moving out.
The Broad Ripple house. Like, you...
say that. What goes through my head is, that Justin would have moved in with us. So
and that would have been amazing.
Me, you, and Rochelle, and don't get me wrong, definitely would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But it definitely would have had the cops called on us.
Oh, yeah. I just love the fact that, like, the first time you told me that story, obviously I was drinking a lot. You told me this story, and you were like, yeah, I told Letha, thanks for making sure that I was never roommates with Shane. And I was just like, oh, really? And you were just like, because that would have been terrible. And I couldn't argue that. Like, I can't argue that. Like, at that point, I was one divorce in on my Ross scale. I was one divorce in. So like I definitely was not a good person or a good roommate at that point. I was just looking to drink a lot and party a lot.
So next we'll move on now. So
All
the,
right. Well,
one of
so
the
we had the super
honor,
bad duo
hold on,
between the two duos. We didn't really talk about the cops though. Like
dude.
Bill Hader and Seth Rogen were an amazing duo themselves, suggested by Nick Joy. Like
And,
that entire sequence is amazing.
yeah, and what's he? It's like it's one of those moments where kind of like what we were just talking about. Like you can totally everybody knows that there's somebody that they do stupid shit with. No matter where they go, that's always like something will happen and you'll be like, "Oh my god, we're going to do this stupid shit." Like and that's what these two cops are, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like they're just trying to like one up each other on like the stupid factor.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, they're fantastic. I love this whole movie. Like the Emma Stone's one of her
Emma
first
Roberts? No, Emma Stone. You're right. Sorry, Emma Stone. Yeah.
Stone, one of the first movies that ever, and she's uber adorable in
Yep.
this film. Not that she would ever end up with the fat guy, probably, because I mean that just very rarely happens.
Sure.
But for the fact that it's just it's a lot of fun. This whole movie, even the girl who, oh geez, Michael Cera's character ends up with, who's the
Yes.
whatever that girl's name is.
I'm drawing a blank on her name too.
But yeah, like all the uber cute girls.
Yeah.
It the whole movie from beginning to end, lots of fun.
Yeah, Superbad's amazing. All right. So aside from
Prince
Superbad, there's
Prince
two other
Akeem,
things. There's two other things left. Which one did you want to talk about?
Prince Akeem and
Dude,
from
Coming
to
to
America
America is an amazing film, top to bottom.
still holds up.
I've still not watched the sequel, so
Don't
I have no connotation to put it into. But the first film, Coming to America, I laugh nonstop from 5 minutes in till the movie ends. Like,
not even 5 minutes. It's like almost immediately.
sure.
But like that second movie, man, like how you take an R-rated movie that has a lot of raunch in it to watering it down to be a PG-13 movie makes no sense whatsoever. It's not. It doesn't hit the It doesn't hit the same level that the first one does. There was no need for it. They shouldn't have done it, but they did.
Well, and it's weird because, like, obviously I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. I follow a lot of Kevin Smith stuff, and he loved the sequel. And he says that Coming to America is, like, phenomenal and amazing, and I should watch it, and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, eh. As much as I respect Kevin Smith, like, my hetero life mate is Jason, and he tells me it's blah. And, like,
maybe I should have been drunk for this one too. Maybe I should have been drunk and with friends for this one, but
Sure.
I did not find it funny. Wesley Snipes kind of steals every scene that he's in because he's Wesley Snipes and he's playing way over the top, which is supposed to be happening for his character.
But like even better than Arsenio as the sidekick.
Yeah, like Semi's barely in this movie.
Oh,
like,
really? Oh, okay.
Like he's a throwaway.
It's one of those things. Like I guarantee someday I will watch Coming to America. I'm not in a rush to do it because of your review, but like I'm sure eventually I'll watch it because I do really enjoy the first movie. But like I said, like even Kevin Smith praising it is great, but like I value your opinion, and when you say it's blah, and you're not the only one. I've had other friends who've told me it's blah. I'm just like, maybe someday I'll watch it.
Next up on honorable mentions is Smokey and Snowman from Smokey and the Bandit.
Which, so my buddy Brian Lerman suggested this, and I love Brian for suggesting it, but like, I only value the first movie in this franchise.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If I watched an entire one from this franchise, I was younger than 10 years old, and I don't remember anything except wearing the cowboy hat and having a badass Trans Am.
Oh, like, yeah.
Literally the only thing I remember about Smokey and the Bandit.
Gotcha. I mean, I love the first movie. I think the first movie is a good movie. Um, I know I've seen 2, 3, and 4, but maybe only one time. Like I can't. The Smokey and Snowman characters, I know they're in the first 3 films together. I believe. I can't remember for a fact, but I don't think Snowman's back for the fourth movie. But it's it's blah. I do enjoy the first movie a lot. I think Smokey and the Bandit's a very fun movie. Burt Reynolds is obviously awesome. Um, but I feel like it's a one and done with 2 okay sequels. Um, they're fine. Like I won't badmouth Smokey and the Bandit, but I don't have any hardcore connection to it either to be like, oh, they're amazing. But the first film's worth watching.
So now we're going to the low vote getters.
Cool.
And the next one we're going to talk about is one that it cracks me up because every time I think of this duo, I had a friend whose wife was like, they should just come out of the closet. They should just come out of the closet. Like that's what it seems like throughout this entire series of movies. It's Frodo and Samwise from the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
And like we talked about earlier, my problem, not problem, but my issue with them as a duo is I love Fellowship. And Fellowship is 13 people together. By the time that we get to Lord of the Rings, where they're actually at Mordor, I've stopped caring about Frodo and Sam. Like
interesting.
That it's
I care more about following Aragorn than I do about following Samwise and Frodo.
Yeah, again, that's the biggest problem that I have because I like Lord of the Rings, but I love the story of Fellowship. Like
yeah.
Fellowship is what I consider Lord of the Rings. It's 13 people trying to get to Mordor, trying to get the ring there. Like, we've created the Fellowship. And I understand that Two Towers and Return of the King are storyline important, but they're not storyline enjoyable for me.
Like I could watch Fellowship multiple times.
Sure.
And never blink. The second and the third one, like Two Towers, I just really want to watch Hell's Deep or Hell's Keep.
Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep. Sorry, yep. Thank you. I just want to watch that. I don't really care about what else happens. And Return of the King, just get me to the final battle. Like, and I don't want to watch the epilogue that happens afterwards.
No, and it sucks because like Aragorn is my favorite character in all of Lord of the Rings and everything that's going on. Like I love Aragorn, the Strider storyline. Like he doesn't want to be the king, but then like he helps out the hobbits and like his overall arc in the first film in Fellowship is amazing. I don't care about Aragorn after the first film. It's just like it's a bunch of bullshit to get him to be the king when he doesn't want to be the king. Like,
yeah,
okay, blah. Like this is what it is. Like I don't care about it. But the first film, I love Aragorn's story. I love the Fellowship story. I love We've Got the Ring, and I love Frodo and Sam. But I mean, like you said, dude, the last hour of Return of the King is Frodo and Sam trying to throw the ring in Mount Doom. And it gets boring. And the little Schmeagol is there. Gollum, thank you. Like Gollum is there, and Gollum and Schmeagol and them have their talk, and it's just like you're just prolonging this absolutely stupid story. And it sucks because like I said, like I love Lord of the Rings and I love Aragorn's path to redemption and all of that stuff, but blah.
Next up on our low votes, which I totally like, this would have gotten more votes, I think, if they would have just made one movie.
Really?
The fact that they made 3 movies, the second one was bad, and the third one I just never watched because I was so I was disinterested by the second movie so bad that I never watched the third one.
I agree on the second movie, but the third movie, the only reason to watch it is to watch Thanos be Agent K.
So we're talking about Agent K and Agent J from the Men in Black franchise. So we're talking about Tommy Lee Jones, and we're talking about Will Smith,
Josh
which Tommy Lee
Brolin,
Jones
Josh
becomes Josh Brolin.
Brolin's interpretation of Tommy Lee Jones is the only good part about the third movie.
That's fine. I never saw it. Like, it's not something that ever interested me. My favorite was we stayed open for a midnight showing of this, and I can't remember if you were there for this or that night or not, Shane. I think it was you and I for this midnight, and we had a total of like 30 people. No, it was like 12 people in one auditorium.
Yep.
And 0 people for like the 3D version.
Yep.
It was literally like we stayed open for midnight, and we had like 3 concessionists.
Yep.
And we were all like, we're going to be busy. And then no business ever walked through that door. And we were just like, what the hell? And then I went down to the south side because we needed to transfer a print. Because this is while we were 35.
Yep.
And 35 millimeter for you folks who don't know. And I had to transfer a print to the south side. And when I got to the south side, I was talking to the GM down there, and he was like, yeah, it's not doing any business for us either. And I was like, oh God, thank you. It wasn't just us. Like, yeah, MIB3 did not do well for us. And
I feel like something else big came out that weekend. Like, I feel like a Hunger Games or like something else big came out that same weekend, and we had a midnight show of something else that night also.
I don't remember anything else being there for midnight, but you and I were so mad that we were stuck there.
Yep.
For 12 people. Like, but like Men in Black, man, the first movie is so much fun.
So good. And it's perfect. So Barry Levinson.
Crazy. Yeah, Barry Levinson's in it. Vincent D'Onofrio playing the bug dude.
Yeah.
He's great. Like, he's great in everything that he does, though.
Oh, so, for sure.
But yeah, like, I really enjoy the first one. Second one, didn't care for. Fourth one, I thought it was an interesting way to try and reboot the franchise, but I don't think they hit a home run.
I don't think I've seen the fourth one.
Punked one with Chris Hemsworth and Emma Thompson, the chick who played Valkyrie.
Oh, Tessa Thompson. Yeah, Thompson. I never watched that. That wasn't good.
It was blah.
Okay.
It just felt like they were like, well, we're going to lose the rights to the Men in Black if we don't make another movie. Maybe that's what the reason was.
I got you. Wow, yeah, I've seen the first 3. I forgot that I never watched the fourth one.
Yeah, and then the other low vote that we have on our list is Kirk and Spock from the Star Trek franchise.
I am very surprised. Because this, like the Han and Chewie thing, there are multiple iterations of Kirk and Spock. And, like, a lot of my friends are Star Trek nerds, so I thought the Kirk and Spock would be, like, a very high vote getting thing. So I'm very surprised that Spock and Kirk got, like, 2 or 3 votes. Like,
maybe people just didn't scroll down or something. I don't know.
Maybe, like, because they're pretty important in the Star Trek universe.
They're pretty awesome too. Yeah. Like, especially when you think of like the original trilogy, like, or the original series.
Yeah.
Before even the reboot, which the reboot's fine.
Yep. The reboot's fine.
But like the original series was definitely awesome for Kirk and Spock.
I mean, the second, like, Wrath of Khan, like, at the end of Wrath of Khan, you've got the very important sequence between Kirk and Spock of, like, I will always be your friend. And then, like, they flipped that in the, 2009 version of Into Darkness. And, like, at the end of that movie, you've got Kirk and Spock and the I will always be your friend, but it's flipped. It's Kirk saying it to Spock this time. Or, I'm sorry, Spock saying it to Kirk this time. Like, Kirk and Spock are a pretty amazing dynamic duo.
I agree. I totally agree. What's interesting to me, though, is the 0 vote getters.
The 0 vote getters, the 0 vote getters that I put up, I'm very surprised because, like,
Smoke Guy! Smokey's taking a shit.
Like when I put up Craig Jones and Smokey, I was just like, this is 100%. Like, this is a great dynamic duo. Like, Ice Cube and Chris Tucker. Like, Friday is a phenomenal movie. It's fun. I laugh to this day, 30 years later at Friday. Like, yeah, you're laughing
on your day off.
Yeah. Like, there is so much good dialogue in Friday that 30 years later it holds up. So, how Craig Jones' Smokey got 0 votes, that's up in the air for me, because, I mean, I would have voted for them. I thought they're a great duo of people.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I meant to vote on this list, and I totally something happened, and I got interrupted while I was going down the list. So I didn't put in all my entries, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just come back to that at some point." And I turned off my phone. I don't know if Facebook refreshed or whatever the case may be, but I never went back to it. I definitely would have voted for Craig and Smokey. So
good. What about Cameron and Ferris?
0 votes for Cameron and Ferris.
0 votes for Cameron and Ferris.
I know, oh, dude. And this is one of my all-time classic favorite movies.
Dude, John Hughes in my top 10 of all time.
Still holds up.
Yes, for sure. It's so much fun. And it's fun because Cameron is a straight guy and Ferris is the let's party guy. Like, no matter what Cameron says or argues or any of Cameron's arguments, like, Ferris is always just like, I'm going to do Ferris. Thanks for your opinion, but I'm going to do Ferris.
And I grew up with somebody who literally did this all the time. I don't know if you're going to have me over here or over there, but whatever the case may be, somebody constantly was like, I'm going to do me, even though I shouldn't do me. And then Jason was just sitting there trying to logically tell him to do something else.
All right. So let's address that elephant in the room. Yes. In our younger days, I didn't listen to anybody but my inner monologue, and I did a lot of very dumb things relationship-wise, friendship-wise, relationship-wise. I made a lot of terrible mistakes. I did a lot of very dumb stuff. But it was all because I just wanted to party.
Party!
Yeah, we'll talk about Concert 8. That's fine. Jason's so drunk right now. It's hilarious.
I am a little tipsy.
You're tipsy. So cool. So yes, I unfortunately put you in a lot of drunken situations, but it's all good.
We're still friends, so
we are still friends. I am the Ferris to your Cameron. Like
let go. So
I am the Ferris to your Cameron. In our youth, we hung out and we were friends. And over time, I got you involved in a lot of stupid concepts of fun and partying friendship. Probably more than any of your other friends.
Probably. I will totally agree with that. Ooh.
Ooh, what?
Nothing. Sorry. No. I am drunk. I noticed a option on my iPhone. That's all.
Cool. I believe that I am better than some of your fucking Phil stories.
Come on, fucking Phil stories are great though. Like
exactly.
We should do an entire episode on fucking Phil.
It's funny that we bring up Phil because last weekend, my Sandlot viewing at home, I, at the end of the movie, was thinking about my friends who would be my Sandlot friends.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, I'm Benny the Jet, because I'm dope.
I don't think you were that fast, dude.
I don't care about how fast I was. I don't care about how fast I was. I was the coolest.
I don't know if you could ever run that way.
I was the coolest.
Okay, we'll go.
Here's my thing. Here's the happiness that I get when I'm watching the Sandlot. The first scene when Benny brings Smalls to the Sandlot, and all the other members are like, yeah, but he's too slow or he's too this. Benny's like, fuck you, you're too slow. Fuck you, we make fun of you. Like, Benny brings up like all the other like incidents with the other members of the Sandlot.
The exposition of the movie.
Yeah, so like that's what I love about Benny. Benny is like, I don't care if other people make fun of you. Like, we'll all make fun of you together because we're a conglomerate. So like that's what I love about Benny. But like, so in the Sandlot franchise of our friendship and Zach being around and
Ooh,
Mark and Justin and Lee and Joe and like the people that we hung out with in like the 18 to 21-year-old phase of our lives, like we had a great Sandlot group of guys. We had a great like you could call on anybody at that point in our lives when we were young and dumb.
yeah. We had a really good group, and considering the fact that like none of us ever got arrested for doing anything stupid during that time of us hanging out is pretty amazing.
I mean, like if you think about our Friday and Saturday nights, like it was we're gonna go to the bowling alley when everybody gets off work, and when we get off from the bowling alley, we're gonna go to Perkins or we're gonna go to Denny's or we're gonna go to Steak and Shake. Like we just we were a very joviant group of drinking friends who would then calm down when we had to.
Okay, we'll go with that.
But
So,
I probably calmed down the least. So the low votes, the no votes, Cameron and Ferris, like very awkward that they didn't get any votes because I mean it's obviously a John Hughes film, which is amazing. There were some good like Cameron Crowe films, Say Anything, Singles, Almost Famous. Like they had some good groups of people, but nothing springs to your mind that we missed.
no. I think we hit a really good, wide variety of stuff that we were talking about. So I think it works out really well. Um, yeah, it was a lot of fun talking about the duos. So
I will attempt to wrap things up saying that you have been the best duo in my life.
oh, until you met your current wife.
And I mean, my wife is absolutely amazing and phenomenal and is asleep right now while we're doing this. But for the last 20 years, for the last 20 years, you and I went through Guam Guys together. We went through Gemini Films together. We went through like three feature length films. We went through like 17 short films. We did a lot of shit together over the years, and like I don't know what toll it took on your relationship, but I know that like our friendship and my relationships have always been intertwined with Guam Guys and Gemini Films and Consternate and Reunion and Escape to Change the World. Like you and I have done a lot together as friends.
Definitely.
We've made a lot of movies together, a lot of short films together. We've put up a lot of shit on YouTube together, and this podcast is awesome. But it's also been a creative outlet for you and I to just hang out every week and talk about the shit that we've done together.
The crazy stuff that we've
It's
done.
crazy stuff, man. And I love you as my hetero life mate who has gone through all of this shit together with me. There's been a lot of scripts that I've sent you, and they're like over the years I've probably sent you 30 to 40 scripts, and you've read them, and 95% of them you've been like, this shit sucks. You need to fix it. And you're right. And like, I mean, there's been stuff along the way that we've, gotten in arguments about, or there's plot lines or story development in any of our scripts that we've ever worked on together. But like, I appreciate the fact that you are my, hey, bud, let's make a movie together. So thank you for everything that you have been in my creative process of trying to make films.
You are more than welcome, sir. It's been a blast.
All right, so
Anybody who's listening to it and gotten to this point is like, I'm gonna hang up now. I'm gonna get off this. They're doing their hetero love fest right now. So
we're having our hetero I'm gonna jerk you off fest right now. I love you, brother. So we're looking at like an hour and 45 right now. So we're gonna wrap things up, and I'm gonna say thank you for talking with me about hetero life mate movies. Oh yeah, we'll do the
that too.
hey hey. Next week I'll try to get my camera figured out with no microphone to fuck up Jason's audio because last week was miserable. And I know most people didn't listen to last week, which sucks. We had a great 3 hour conversation, but the audio was absolutely terrible. So I'm gonna fix that for next week. I'm gonna get back on the new camera so that I look better because I don't like looking blurry and out of focus and white balance blown out and everything. So I'm gonna get back to talk to you. We'll talk about some other stuff in the future. August, or I'm sorry, April is still way up in the air. The next 3 weeks we're gonna kind of fly on the seat of our pants and do stuff. But then we've got like Marvelous May. We've got plans for June. We've got Juiced Up July. Uh, the next couple of months are going to be much more focused in our dialogue, but we're just trying to have fun these next couple weeks before we get serious into what we're talking about. Jason is going to St. Louis this week, which I'm jealous of. You going to the zoo?
We are on Friday. My son
Nice.
turned 11, and we're heading out of town, and we're gonna go stay at a hotel that has a pool so he can swim because he loves to swim. And then on Friday we're going to the zoo. Well, it's supposed to be really nice on Friday. So
But when we were talking this week, you admitted that the St. Louis Zoo primate house is not exterior anymore.
no, it's an interior room,
Well,
which
yeah,
they are
yes.
not allowing people into there as of right now. Maybe, I don't know. The COVID situation is very fluid, so
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Did you COVID shot it yet? Like let's address that for the end of the
Uh,
episode.
well,
Did you COVID shot it?
did you COVID shot it?
I did. I one and done it at the IMS. It was miserable. The 2 days after I got my COVID shot, I pretty much was exhausted and felt like I had the flu and couldn't get out of bed. And for yeah, like I said, I did the one and done, and the 2 days after I did the one and done were miserable. But I feel fantastic now, so I'm
Awesome.
good. You did the double shot, right?
I'm on shot number 1 of 2.
Okay,
The second shot's coming on April 15th.
cool.
Um, didn't feel anything from the first shot. Apparently, the second shot you're going to feel worse.
Yeah,
Which makes sense. But whatever. Um, my wife convinced me that this was the best course of action. I wasn't going to plan on doing it for a little while, but she's concerned, and because she's concerned, I guess I should be concerned. And then whatever.
happy wife, happy life, brother.
Yeah, we'll keep
Well,
it
and
that
I
way.
mean the great thing, like, don't get me wrong, like I love England, I love the United Kingdom, I love all that stuff. There are talks about doing a required passport to prove that you've gotten the shot. Um,
Let them
Biden
do it.
has come out and flat out said that they will never do that for the U.S. government. I
He came out and said that.
Yeah, Biden came out and said that they will never require a like COVID, um, a
Yeah,
COVID
COVID passport.
passport. Yeah.
It might
So,
be the only thing that I approve of that he's done so far as
oh,
his
nice.
president. So
Yeah. So, like, I mean, and again, like, I love the United Kingdom. I love a lot of things about the European government, but I always kind of felt like the UK COVID passport was maybe taking it a little too far. So yeah, this week Biden came out and said that they will never require a U.S. COVID passport.
He
So
said that now. Who knows, man? Like, and, we know how politicians play this
that's
shit.
true.
So at first, let's hope that stays true. I'm really hoping it. I read something. If we brought up politics, might as well go for it.
Hey, let's go for it. What are you gonna say?
Apparently, one of the things that he's talking about doing is signing executive actions for gun control tomorrow on Thursday, because
Okay.
we're on a Wednesday. He is apparently talking about executive actions where he is allowing no-knock warrants to come and confiscate guns. And
Yeah.
obviously, that's not a great idea, because I think that's going to end up to a lot of police officers hurt in the line of duty, because there is a lot of people who won't put up with that kind of crap. And
I agree.
I think that that's a bad idea by our government.
Yep.
I think that's a bad idea under Joe Biden's ideals. I'm hoping that that's not something that actually comes to fruition, that that's something that is a thought process that somebody can convince him is a bad idea.
I agree. When I saw the stuff about that, I was very disappointed. I think all of that is dumb.
I also find it very interesting that apparently they are finishing the border on the south wall, or the south wall for the border of Mexico. The wall that everybody was, the Democrats were up in arms about the fact that our former president Donald Trump was constructing the wall along the southern border. Apparently, because of what's going on and so many people coming over the border because of Joe Biden being president, that now they're actually talking about finishing said wall. I think that's quite interesting, and it makes me wonder if how that's going to affect him in the future. So
Super awkward. And I don't know anything about that. So we're gonna go back to entertainment, and we're gonna say we had a great time talking tonight. Thank you for all of your insight on the duos that we talked about. Yep. My Sun King glass is empty as well. So we talked about a lot of good duos, but I'm gonna bring one thing up before we wrap up.
We didn't talk about Bill and Ted. How did we not talk about Bill and Ted?
I'm curious about that, but we also talked about 0 iterations of Batman and Robin. And I'm going to be honest, when I was thinking of things, the Schumacher versions were fresh on my mind. I forgot about the 1966 film. And we have to include Burt Ward and Adam West for the 66 version of Batman and Robin. But I had forgotten about it. Like, how does that fall in your grand scheme of all time Batman and Robins?
It's the best iteration because the Schumacher stuff was shit.
Yeah, the Schumacher stuff is garbage.
They've never been able to hit it right in a movie version ever. But I would say for what the comic books that were coming out at the time that they made the Batman TV series, the Adam West Batman TV series, like that's probably the closest that you got to like source material, even though it's not that great of a television show, but it's really funny. My kids watch it now, even my 6-year-old daughter and my 9-year-old son like watching Batman, the television series, and watching how silly it is. And they think it's funny that watching the bam, how.
Does Sarah have a favorite version of Catwoman?
Oh, no.
No?
She's
okay.
Paying attention that closely.
Okay.
So. But yeah, they have fun.
We got the Eartha Kitt, the Julie Newmar, like.
Julie Newmar all the way, man.
You think so?
She's just so.
Eartha Kitt's not bad though.
So much better looking than Eartha Kitt. Don't get me wrong, I love Eartha Kitt, especially when she's playing Isla.
Yes.
Why can't I say her name? Isma. Sorry, Isma. But yeah, from Emperor's New Groove. But I will take Julie Newmar way more than I would ever take Eartha Kitt.
And I mean, I won't kick either of them out of bed, but they're both beautiful Catwomen.
Yeah, Julie Newmar is totally more my speed. So
nice. So there we go. Jason, Have fun in St. Louis. I hope
I
you go
will.
to the zoo. I hope you guys have a fucking blast. Next week, nothing solid on the schedule yet. April is kind of our up in the air month before we get hardcore into Marvelous May, where we're going to talk about the Marvel comics, movies. We'll
Cartoon.
probably talk about the cartoons and Falcon and Winter Soldier and the shows that we've got.
I need
Uh,
to watch I need to watch the X-Men cartoon.
oh, dude, the '90s X-Men cartoon, the Fox
Yeah.
X-Men cartoon, yes. Da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na.
I had a MIDI. My first cell phone had a MIDI version of that.
As your ringtone?
It's a ringtone.
Oh,
Yes.
that's awesome.
Anybody remembers MIDI? It's hilarious.
Na-na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na.
Doesn't sound anything like that.
I'm very excited to talk about the X-Men cartoon because we can talk about like Morph and how they ruined him on the cartoon.
So, all right, man.
But thank you for everything tonight. Have a great vacation. We'll talk next week where I don't know what the topic is gonna be, but you look like you have an idea.
I do. It just came across my brain. And
What's your idea for next April?
Let's wrap this up. We're going to wrap this up and we'll talk offline.
All right, cool. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, maybe in April we'll talk about the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Ooh.
When does the next Fast and the Furious come out? Is that June?
June or July.
Yeah, maybe we'll try to talk about the first 8 movies because, well, I love them all. But yeah, so we'll have the Fast and Furious franchise or whatever great idea Jason has. April, totally up in the air. We got 2 or 3 more April episodes, and then we'll get into Marvelous May, and we'll start talking about the Marvel franchises. So thank you very much for listening. Jason, thank you very much for your time tonight, and we will be back next week with something nerdy to talk about.